What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Where My Turds At Showdown breakdown. Today we've got the Giants at the Bucs. Monday Night Football. Where My Turds At. All right, so we're back breaking down the Giants at the Bucs, Monday Night Football, Showdown, FanDuel, Draftkings. I've got the GOAT with me himself, Bobby Moneybags, a.k.a. Bobby Duggets, a.k.a. Bobby Millions. What's up, my man?
Hey, ready for this game tonight. It's going to be a fun one, I think.
I know you love the intros.
I do. It gets me every time.
All right, so we got a fun one here. Brady and the Bucs taking on the Giants at home. Massive 11-point favored Bucs in this game. 49.5-point total. And before we get into this breakdown, Tom Brady doesn't have the best personal record against the Giants.
Interesting. Yeah, and we were talking before too. In Tom Brady's last 11 primetime games, he's 0-11 against the spread.
A couple different reasons that if you're a betting person, if you're a betting man, you might want to look at the Giants side of that one. Just take those points and kind of go with that Tom Brady sort of history on
which is always scary, right? To go with the Giants, but can't argue with the numbers, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, but on the positive side, the Giants are getting some players back here, and they're going to be much more of a full and complete unit. Flip side is I think that the Bucs will get Gronk back, and he's Gronk, he's the man. So a couple of players coming back. We've got Antonio Brown still out for the Bucs, and Sterling Shepard out for the Giants. The return of Saquon Barkley. So a lot of different narratives. Kenny Golladay back and healthy, for whatever that's worth. Let's get started on the Bucs side of this ledger, though. And I actually need to. There's one. The WR3 situation is a little bit in flux for the Bucs, so we got to talk about Scotty Miller. Will he come off IR or is he coming back? We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think he's going to, and that, like you said, it's just going to muddy the water even more.
All right, so we'll get an overview here. So let's start with Tom Brady. Obviously, he's been great this year, coming off a couple down weeks, but he's been great all season long and spreads the football around, and definitely a viable captain play, I think. Leonard Fournette at running back for the Bucs. At this point, last week, 84% of the actual carries. Ron Jones Jr. not even really being worked in anymore, barely, or just they bring him in just to spell him a little bit, but he's not even really being worked in at all. So this is pretty much the Leonard Fournette backfield where Gio Bernard comes in, in obvious passing down situation. They threw to Gio a couple times. He actually dropped a pass last week that I saw, which was unlike him. But for the most part, it's the Leonard Fournette backfield, 84% of the carries, a 30% target share last week, which is absolutely elite numbers. Got to like Lenny this week. Going for the rest of the Bucs. It's Godwin and Evans at wide receiver, both getting pretty similar snap counts. And for this week in particular, Bobbywow, I think it's interesting because James Bradbury, has done really well against Mike Evans throughout his career, but in general has been great this season as a cover corner. And I fully expect him to be on Mike Evans for the most of this game, which pushes targets over to both Godwin, WR3, we'll talk about who that might be, and tight end, maybe Gronk. So if you need an argument for Evans or Godwin, the argument is Godwin mainly because Bradbury should be lined up against Evans for most of this game, and Bradbury is a good corner, and Mike Evans is not known for beating good cornerbacks. Hunter's mentioning a little bit of, some plays designed for Gio. The goal line. Gio has to be in the mix. He's also one of the very few low-priced guys that we can potentially kind of know he'll get some targets. After that, I mean, that's the big question. So do we know anything about Scotty Miller coming back? Is it going to be Tyler Johnson again? Tyler didn't look too bad last week.
Yeah, I think Miller's going to come back. but my guess is it'll primarily be Tyler Johnson still. So, wait, what is the price on Scotty? Is he min price? I haven't gotten a chance to look yet.
Scotty Miller is 300. So if he's in the game, I'm gonna have interest. I don't even care if he's only getting a couple catches. He's 200 min price.
I mean, we saw it last week. I think it was Jalen Darden that came in. I think he was targeted like once or twice and caught a big pass for a touchdown. Even more times. Look at that. Oh, that's Tyler Johnson. Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, Tyler Johnson is priced up, so we're not getting the bargain basement. What I consider bargain basement anybody priced under the kickers, because you look at the kicker and you go, yeah, I could probably get 9 out of him. So anytime I'm looking at somebody in the kicker zone, it's like, hey, can they score more than 9? Who do I think's a better turd, Tyjo or Bernard? Bernard, is he? It's a different price, man. I don't even understand the question. Bernard is 1,800 and Tyler Johnson is 5K. Tyler Johnson is not priced as a turd. I think Johnson is a better play, but I'd rather have Bernard for 1,800 because that opens some stuff up that Tyler Johnson just doesn't. All right, so back to the matchup sheet, and we'll take a look at the G-men. The Giants are so in flux with their players. Like, you can't even look at the snap counts and glean anything. It's like, this guy's 55%, that guy, I don't even know. But, as best we can do, Saquon Barkley's going to be back, and he'll probably get all the touches. Devontae Booker is not priced like a guy who's a backup. So you're not going to play Booker. The only real goodness, it's a terrible matchup for the running game anyway. Bucs are elite versus the run. The one thing about Saquon, though, is that doesn't matter because they throw to Saquon, so whatever. And we've actually seen teams come in against like the Saints and the Bucs with a pass to the running back heavy game plan because they know you can't run. So the running back actually ends up doing even better. Like, I think it was an Eckler game or another pass catching running back game. Maybe it was a Kamara game. I can't remember. It was probably a Kamara, where they just were like, yeah, we threw them 10 times because they knew it's hard to run up the gut against the Bucs, so why bother?
Right.
If the Giants are smart and they've had enough time, and they have, because it's a long week, they would know that. They'd be like, oh, our scouting report says the Bucs are good against the run. Maybe we should throw to the running back. Like that seems like you would know that. If not, call me. Why don't they call me, Bobbywow?
They should. I don't think they really want it. That's
the only reason why. They don't want to know. They don't want to know They should call fantasy football analysts and be like, guys, what do you think we should do here? And we'll be like, throw to the running back.
Oh, what I'd give for Matt Nagy to call me. Anything.
No, Matt Nagy might be calling you for your Uber order next year. Like, hey, it's dropped off at the front doorstep. It's here.
Oh, so sad.
Uber Eats in it. Yeah, Gaskin 2 touchdowns for the Bucs. There you go. So this is what I'm saying. Like, if you're planning for the Bucs, you're not like, hey, let me run Myles Gaskin up the gut against a team that allows no yards up the gut. Let me throw to my pass catcher running back, which could bode very well for Saquon. Hashtag just saying. All right. Kenny Galladay's back. Kadarius Toney in the slot now. Darius Harewood-Slayton manning the outside. And, I don't know what to make of this. They're all going to be on the field similar. Galladay probably going to get hurt mid-game if I know Galladay. He doesn't make it through many games. Toney will probably be ignored and just they don't target him because that's what they do. And, you've got a fellow hurting Giants fan, Bears fan out there. I never heard Bobby say anything bad about anybody attached to any team until this Nagy comment just now. By the way, that was a first.
And I have compassion for Matt Nagy too. It's hard. I'm like,
that's the first time I ever heard you say anything bad. I think about anyone.
I feel bad for him. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah,
that's agreed. The first time. Matt Nagy.
Is Toney healthy? That's what I want to know because it feels like the last 4 weeks he's been getting dinged up every single game and he hasn't been fully healthy.
He's not on the injury report. No issues. And, do you play the cheapest guy? I think you play the cheapest guy because you're going to need some cheap guys. But you know that Darius Slayton is a Byron Pringle-esque, 2-target, has to catch one of them.
He's
and he
the
drops
Nelson
a lot of them
Aguilar.
because he's not good. What's that?
He's the Nelson Aguilar of the Giants.
He is the Nelson Aguilar. Does that mean he is the showdown breaker? Because that's what Nelson Aguilar is known for.
He has been in the past.
And Darius Slayton, remember I said $1 million play? We almost made the $1 million play on Darius Slayton on the Giants last. Remember that? We put Slayton in the, we said 2 touchdowns for the $1 million for Darius Slayton. I'd say the same tonight. 2 touchdowns to Slayton for the $1 million. You put him in your captain. He gets 2 touchdowns. You win $1 million. Not financial advice. What do you think?
I love it. I mean, he's gonna get a couple of chances for a long touchdown. It's just a matter of whether or not they can cash in.
He will. Probably doesn't catch him, but he'll have the opportunity.
Right.
If you caught him all the time, then he wouldn't be cheap. All right. So who's this Colin Johnson character? And do we think that was the guy who was kind of playing for the injured Kenny Golladay, and he'll kind of lose his snaps?
Yeah, I think Josh put it in the notes too. He's in there more for blocking usually. He's like,
because they won't play Ross as
WR4. Switching with John Ross. Right.
Yeah, I read that.
So, yep. So I think you're exactly right on. I don't know that we're going to see him much in this game. And even when he's in, he doesn't run very many routes.
There we go. So finally, at tight end, Evan Ingram, 80% of the snaps. But Dolph is in there quite a bit. And surprisingly, Kyle Rudolph is getting plenty of targets. He gets a lot of goal line work. Again, I am not against rostering the Dolph at all. Take a look at last week. It's like awesome PL Dolph when he scores. Like that's just like it's a fun thing when you're watching the game. But Dolph, 5 targets, 4 receptions. Again, last week, no Kenny Golladay. I don't think Kenny Golladay was in the game. Can't remember. Fucking guy, did he play?
My only issue with Dolph is when we played him last showdown, he was min price. Now he's $2,200.
Yeah, I mean the price has come up, but
more than 6 points to get there at that price.
No, he's got to score the touchdown. And I mean that last showdown, he scored the touchdown. But yeah, I mean he got the 9. So that I think the 9-pointer is probably enough. Remember, he's competing with the kickers. He's competing with slightly higher price kickers. Speaking of kickers, Josh actually talked up the Giants kicker, and I agree with it in his notes. So let's jump over to the notes here, and we'll get a look at the overview of the slate from the captain position, and the rare 4-star quarterback play. It's going to be hard for me to pull that trigger. I don't think I'm going to do it, Bobbywow. I'm not breaking my streak. Not on Tom Brady.
Yeah, I mean, I think Josh is totally right on. If there's a quarterback that's going to get there, he's one of the most likely for sure. But I'm also with you in that this is a really good spot to get leverage because even with Tom Brady, it's hard for the QB to get there, especially on DraftKings. So I'm in the same boat as you, Geek. I'm going to be way underweight on captain with Tommy.
And Tommy Brady will be the highest, or he projects as the highest owned captain, which if you needed another reason to fade it, I mean, that for me is a good enough reason to fade it. He projects as the highest owned guy, and he's a quarterback, and they don't win showdowns that frequently as captain. I think that Daniel Jones has a higher chance of being the nuts captain than Tom Brady does. You want a fucking headliner, crazy ass geek take? That's what I'm saying. Speaking of crazy ass geek takes, by the way, if you want my crazy ass geek takes all week, including for Thanksgiving slate and including for every main slate and Bobbywow's breakdowns for all of the showdowns and Josh DFSupNORTH breakdown 10 for 10, all the DFS Army content, you get signed up at DFS Army today. Do it now. Don't wait. If you're not a DFS Army subscriber, you're crazy. Get signed up. We had another 100K winner, 200K winners in NBA this week alone. Josiah takes down 100K. Then another DFS Army subscriber takes down 100K. Then this Josiah Bob, one of our staff's like, hold my beer, motherfucker. And he takes down second place, 15K. DFS Army subscriber fucking ties him. Second place, 15K. Like the NBA wins have been flowing like crazy.
We had people take down the NFL Showdown last night.
Lots of showdown takedowns last night. They're not sexy screenshots. There was a lot of ties going on, but who cares? Awesome swimmer. Where are you, bro?
He's in here. I saw him earlier.
Good Showdown winner. I now know how to say his name. Awesome swimmer.
Yeah, you cracked that code for me just now.
Well, he cracked it for me. He literally transliterated it.
Okay.
He's like, it is pronounced this. And I'm like, oh, shit. Been seeing your name for 3 years. And I didn't know how to pronounce it.
Geek, I feel like there's no better time to sign up for DFS Army with Thanksgiving because you're sitting around a table. You're like, how the heck do I get out of these dinner conversations?
Yep.
But now you sign up for DFS Army. You escape to football. You escape to the Discord to commiserate with your brothers and sisters. And there's literally no better time than now. So, get signed up today.
For Thanksgiving alone, we'll have showdown breakdowns for all 3 games. We'll have a 3-game complete slate breakdown. We're going to have sheets for everything. We're going to make your Thanksgiving great again. Matta. Make Thanksgiving Matka. Make Thanksgiving great again.
I love it. There's big contests too. DraftKings has the $1 million for Thanksgiving, and FanDuel has a $5 $500K to first. So it's going to be a great slate.
Yeah, I love the FanDuel side of it. Sorry, I know DraftKings is whatever. I love the FanDuel Turkey Bowl slates. They have better contests. DraftKings forced me to pay $20. A $3,000 entry fee. It was like, fuck, man, it's a lot. But $5 over on FanDuel, okay. You don't like that one? They got a $2 one and a $3 one and a $1 one. Like, you play whatever you want. They got a quarter game, a nickel game. It's a great opportunity to learn mass multi-entry. And doing it with 3 games, you can really dive deep. So again, DFSarmy.com, sign up as a VIP. Or if you want to sign up for free, that's cool too. There's a little button right here on the DFS Army website. It's not hard to find. You click it and you sign up for like Monkey Knife Fight or Prize Picks or one of these sites using our link, and you get a free month. It's really easy. It's totally worth it. And by the way, don't send us the $60. Send it to Monkey Knife Fight. Get a Monkey Knife Fight account. Get a freaking Owner's Box account, whatever. Send it to one of those sites. We'll give you the free month. Dude, it's a no-brainer. Then you get to play with that money. You don't have to send it here. As a matter of fact, do 5 of those fucking offers and get 5 free months. I don't care. Do them all. We don't mind. We're not going to be like, oh, you're fucking abusing us, and we're not going to help you in Discord. No, we don't care. We love you. Come on in. Do the free. I want you to play for free. What more can I offer, Bobbywow? You want blood?
Look, I don't know, man. This is too good to be true.
Blood?
I love it.
Some DNA samples? What else can I give? I don't know. All right. DNA samples. All right. I'm not giving that. No.
Good. Okay.
You've gone too far. All right. So, captain, Tom Brady, talk about it. Mike Evans, again, downgrade, still there, still playable. But for me, tougher matchup for Evans. That gets even worse if Gronk is back, because Evans is kind of like the backup Gronk. Brady likes to have a big dude to throw to in the end zone. That's part of the reason why Godwin, he's just not the same type of end zone target as Evans is.
Yep.
Evans gets the fade route, which Tom Brady loves to throw. He loves the fade. You know he's going to throw it. Like Tom Brady, you can't do it. The minute I see Evans on the outside and he's one-on-one, and by the way, he could still do it, and he could score on that route against Bradbury. That's not the kind of route that Bradbury is going to have a good time or an easy time stopping. But in general, what I think will happen here is that, Godwin is just going to be more open for most of the game and has a higher likelihood of getting lots of yardage, which is what we want on DraftKings. He's a little pricey. And then, of course, Gronk coming in for the touchdowns. It hurts Evans for me a little bit. Uncle Lenny, sure. Yeah.
Jeez.
Got to mix him in.
Come on, Josh.
Josh calls him Fat Lenny.
No body shaming here.
You think Fat Lenny's going to be back next year with the Bucs? I don't know. I've been thinking about it. Almost traded for him in Dynasty, but then I'm like, he could just not have a job next year too.
It's possible.
Josh thinks Brady and his crew style after 2 losses in a row. We'll see. All right, so I'm going to make an argument for Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones at his price is an interesting play because he runs. Normally, I don't play quarterbacks, like I said, but if you're a running quarterback and Daniel Jones, they run. I actually think they could have success running the read option against the Bucs, because just as well as the Bucs are good at stuffing that line, they're stuffing the line. Here's Daniel Jones lumbering away, tackling himself by tangling his feet up in his own feet, but after he ran for a little bit.
Yeah.
He's a willing runner if he's not the most gifted one. Then, of course, Godwin, 4-star play. And Saquon Barkley, I would raise that up as well. A couple of the commenters pointed out Gibson smashed against the Bucs, and so did Gaskin, both for 2 touchdowns. So why not Barkley? Why not Barkley? That wasn't rhetorical. Why not Barkley?
I like Barkley. I think he's super cheap. I think the injury was a freak injury, that last ankle one. That's
this guy, every injury is a freak injury.
I know, but come on. I mean, I like him a lot. I think the Bucs are going to be a little bit confused trying to stop Danny Dimes. I think they're going to spread the ball out, and I think, like you said, they're going to run some option plays. I think that's going to open up the run game a little bit for Saquon, and tack that onto the passing involvement that he'll have, and I like it. I think the ceiling's high.
Who's your sneaky captain play for the slate? And then we'll get to our favorite turd play.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's tough to be sneaky on a slate like this. It's kind of like last night when it was so obvious you were going to have.
Who's your favorite? Not your sneaky. Who's your favorite?
I think my sneakiest captain play is going to be Darius Slayton. He's super cheap. I think a big, long touchdown might be all it takes because you can afford so much above him. And so I like him a lot. I think Saquon is my other sneaky favorite captain play tonight. I think both those two guys have a chance at their price.
I'll throw in Kadarius Toney into the mix. I do think Kadarius Toney, if we've seen what Elijah Moore has done for the Jets in a couple games this season, you start to notice that these rookies, as the year goes on, they can do a little bit more, and all of a sudden they pop off for 30. Kadarius Toney fits that mold exactly. He's this rookie, using him a little bit. No Shepard.
So let me ask you this. What about Kenny Golladay as captain? I feel like nobody's going to play him.
No one wants to play Kenny Golladay. No one wants to play. I definitely think Saquon will go over 37 yards rushing. And yes, no one wants to play Kenny Golladay because Kenny Golladay sucks, man. He sucks. But you got to play all pass catchers against the Bucs. You got to play them all. Yeah. And by the way, Kenny Galladay's priced down to the point where it's almost like not worth it to play the cheaper guys. Like if you look at Slayton, I mean, he's 3,200. He's definitely cheaper.
He's pretty cheap.
He is pretty cheap, but you're going to play Evan Ingram, Kadarius Toney, and Kenny Golladay all the same price. Barkley's right there. I mean, if I look at this crew right here, obviously we like Gronk for his touchdown upside, but I mean, Evan Ingram's the worst of them. He's kind of priced similarly. Definitely the worst of them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Let me see what the projections look like here. So, and projections, I mean, bear it out. Like Evan Ingram, 8.6 versus 14, 13, 12, 8. The drop is precipitous.
Yeah, the ceiling for Ingram just hasn't been there. I mean, he's such a talented weapon, but 12 points, 10 points, 10 points, 5 points, 9 points. It's just he's not getting there for me. So certainly not a captain play in my mind. And it's hard to make the case for him with the pricing so close.
No, and the return of Golladay and the return of Toney. Yeah,
right.
I'm not going to be on Evan Ingram very much. Evan Ingram can score a touchdown, though. I mean, he has it in him.
Yeah,
but that
absolutely.
still might only get you to 12 points for his price, which might not be enough. Hunter, can Gronk? No, you can't trust Gronk to play a full game. And you don't love playing a guy after a long injury. Yeah. I mean, Jason's talking about Bradbury giving up touchdowns. Okay. Yeah.
It's going to take a lot. I mean, for those guys to be captain, like Mike Evans, it's going to take at least 100 yards and a touchdown, probably more.
Yeah. And that's kind of the point. Good coverage doesn't mean what we're looking for. When we say good coverage, it doesn't mean all right, he's going to shut down Mike Evans. He's going to get 3 receptions, 30 yards. The idea is, listen, if you're paying top dollar for the most expensive guy, $10K, and he doesn't cross 22 fantasy points or 20, 20, then you probably didn't need to have him. Like, you have to compare what he does to Brady and Fournette and Jones. So when you roster a Mike Evans, you say he's got to beat out Brady, Fournette, and Jones, or else, yeah. And by the way, you're right. Matchups are only relatively important. They're only kind of important in a macro level. On a micro level, things like game theory, ownership, and quote unquote, anything can happen in a football game all come into play. Not to mention, this guy gets hurt. Bradbury comes out the second play of the game, right. Or just they play Evans randomly in the slot and Godwin on the outside, and like, well, that's weird. They're moving him around. Anything can happen, which is why you have to take these matchup notes with a grain of salt. Like, it doesn't mean don't play the guys. And yeah, Jonathan Taylor, number one defense, massive underdog.
I don't know if you agree with this, Geek, but normally my mindset on matchups is it essentially helps me flip the coin. If I see that someone's really high owned in a tough matchup, I'm like, okay, easy to get leverage the other way. But if someone is very low owned in a bad matchup, it's like, oh man, okay, that's a spot I want to get some leverage.
A lot of times you want to go over on it.
Yep.
You got to go over on it. You want to be like, ownership is so important. This weekend proves it, but it's always the case in DFS. Ownership is so important. Having ownership projections is more important than player projections, anything else. Because if you just leverage ownership, I talked about, and we'll go on to FanDuel here in a second. Let's build a lineup on DraftKings first, but I just want to get to this because it was such a thing this weekend. It comes back to my flip a coin example that I've talked about a few times. If you're in a tournament with people and the question is heads or tails, and it's 50-50 odds, or even I wish I could find a different thing. Let's say you have a coin and it's weighted so that it falls on heads 65% of the time, right? So I've got a weighted coin, it hits heads 65% of the time, it hits tails 35% of the time. 35. Right? You've got this knowledge. Now you're doing a 100 person contest. Everybody puts in $1, and you have to guess heads or tails. And everybody that guesses one way gets a piece of the money when you're right. And so everybody knows that the coin is weighted and it's got a 65% chance of hitting heads. So 90% of the people in the tournament pick heads. Well, what happens is when they're right, they're kind of splitting the money. They're only getting like $1.20 back or something. They barely made any money because everybody knew that it was going to be heads and everybody played it. That's essentially playing the chalk in DFS. Mm-hmm. Everybody played it. You didn't even really benefit much from playing it because everybody played it. So it was just like, all right, I got a couple of pennies back. But if you play tails and it hits 35% of the time, it hits tails, but you're one of only 10% of people, over time, if you do a little regression chart, you're going to see that you made a lot more money playing tails, even though they were the clear, less good play. I got to make a whole fucking video on this. I'm going to make a video with the chart.
With your bracket thing too. Hey, Hunter spoke, and he spoke into existence because ownerships are live. So let's go take a look at those quick too.
Oh, here we go. Fucking Hunter, man. You're like that. Hit refresh and the magical ownerships shall appear.
They're at least in the cheat sheets.
Okay.
Maybe they haven't made it over to the DOM yet.
All right. They are making their way through. They're making their way through. So hang on. How do I reload this? Let's try to draft FanDuel. All right. Ownership slowly. Nah, they're not here yet, but they're on the cheat sheet. So they're slowly pouring their way through. So in the meantime, let's make us a DraftKings lineup here real quick. And if we're going to go like chalky, I think the best play, the most obvious captain is going to be Godwin. It'll be my cash game captain.
Yep.
What do you think, Bobbywow?
I like it.
All right. Yeah, I mean, build for the Giants win. Yeah, that's right. And I'm all about it, by the way. I like loading up on the Giants side of this game a little bit for that reason, and also because it's unique, and also because we did some research that shows that 4-2, underdog seems to win a lot more often than people think. So there's a few different reasons to load up on the Giants. So, all right, you're doing a little Giants action here. Who's that cheapie that we said we like? Maybe Dolph?
Slayton, Dolph.
Yeah, one up Dolph or Slayton, right?
Gio Bernard.
Let's put Slayton in there for the $1 million reception. He's a little more expensive. That's what I don't like about it. I do like Gio. He stinks though, but you got to play somebody who's 1,800. Yeah, Dolph for Gio. All right, so you throw one of these turds in there, right? Got your cheapie in there. Now we float back up. Okay. Barkley. Looking at the prices, I'm gonna have to do another cheapo and another stud. So probably got to play one.
Give me Tommy in there for sure.
Yeah, but I need Daniel Jones in my lineup. I mean,
and then I like. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine.
I mean, it's the negative to me here is that I'm not getting Daniel Jones in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like you need two of Tom Fournette and Danny Dimes. You need two of those guys.
Yeah, I think you need Dimes as well. So let me see how much money I have left if I do that. So basically, when you do this, you got $36.50 left. I actually think if this was kind of a cash lineup, I can make an argument for Fournette over Barkley, but you can't afford it. So if this is a cash lineup, $3,600 a pop. Let's say we went with the cheapest viable, which is Gio. That leaves you $5,500. That does not get us anybody particularly good. So let's see if I can do like Gano and yeah, okay. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't normally play Slayton in cash, and I need to rethink this. I don't think that's actually a cash lineup at all. But, this is a lineup that I kind of like. So I'm going to put that in there. We'll make a lineup for the show.
I like it.
All right. So let's talk a little bit of FanDuel. It's a longer one than usual because it's a little earlier in the day. It's actually not longer than usual.
Geek, this has been short. This isn't
longer. Actually, now I'm looking at it, it's really not longer than usual. All right. So let's take a look at the Showdown.
Oh, my God. Hold on. Nope. This is not the week. Mike Glennon is not the guy. If you're talking about Mike Glennon, I can't agree. I'm sorry, William. I'm sorry.
No Glennon. No Glennon. Who's the backup to Brady? Actually, I think like when you talk about backups, like Saquon Barkley could just re-injure himself in the second play of this game, and then Devontae Booker comes in. So that's a backup that's interesting. Or the one that no one will play is Leonard Fournette, who hasn't been injury prone. Something happens, he gets dinged up, and then Ron Jones Jr. comes in and breaks the slate out. Like those things can happen. We always got to mention it so we can, go back to it later. But let's talk FanDuel, where quarterbacks and running backs are king. Unbelievable king. And on FanDuel, we have a much clearer path to the MVP. Brady, Jones, little Fournette, little Godwin, Barkley. Stick to the big names. Stick to the big names, right? So right off the bat, I mean, favorite captain, it's got to be GOAT, no?
It's not close. Yeah, he's by far. Yeah.
I like Daniel Jones as well. Daniel Jones can run for a touchdown, but I mean, he's the contrarian option to GOAT, right? It's GOAT and then whatever. So
I think the most contrarian, while also being viable, the best balance is Saquon Barkley on FanDuel. No one wants to play him.
Yeah. Let's see what the ownership projection is for Saquon right now. So MVP ownership, Barkley. Oh, he's not even on the list. There you go. So that's how intense no one wants to play him. He didn't even make
there he is. 5%.
Yeah, I mean you got.
Both those now. 18% in the flex is absurdly low.
This is
for
ridiculous.
A running back.
By the way, I'm going to make sure I get Barkley in a shitload of my lineups just because of that ownership. That's ridiculous. So potential ownership. So listen, you put Brady and Jones in there. That's kind of how you want to start a lineup off. You got $9K left. So the question is, who is the cheapie that allows us to do some nice, good things, have good things in life? So who do we like? Yeah, I mean, like, Eli Penny, bro.
I mean, Slayton's really cheap on FanDuel. He might be the cheapest viable. I guess you go Rudolph. He's a little bit cheaper.
Man,
Ingram's
Burhan,
only 8K. I like Ingram on FanDuel.
Can we all agree that Burhan is fucked? That is not a good place to be. Up 24 with Godwin and Fournette yet to play. Listen, stranger things have happened, man. You could win it still.
You need them to cancel this game tonight. That's what you need.
Is Tony cheap? Where's Tony?
He's cheap. They're all relatively cheap.
Not that cheap though. Slayton at 7,500. Ty Joe. Remember, at 9,300 left, if I'm going to get back up to Godwin or Evans or another one of these guys, like, what? Wait a minute, Lenny. So, like, you want him. You want that guy. I want him.
Can you play? Okay. Nah, of course.
Can't play them both. Or you got to take dimes out and kind of like do something like that. I don't like that either.
Now you can get Godwin in there because you'll want a pass catcher with Brady.
Yeah, you have to have one. And then it leaves you with 7K. That's probably like Dolph price. Yeah.
Dolph is, yeah.
Does it look great? I think it looks pretty fucking good. Now, basically the way FanDuel works is you've got to catch a touchdown with your 6-7K guy. You need to have one of those guys in your lineup, and you probably got to throw a touchdown in there. You got to get a touchdown thrower in the game. So, like if Patnick thrower, you got to catch a touchdown. Can Dolph get a touchdown? Yeah. I mean, of course he can. Cameron Brate, can he get? So as you're setting up your lineups for this, you're just going to, what I do is I just cycle through these turds. That's the, hold on. Give me the fucking spinner. Where are my turds at? That's what this is all about. It's all about the turds. You got to mix in a turd in your FanDuel lineup, and then he has to score a touchdown. I think any one of these, great. I like Rudolph. He's getting some looks, but Gio Bernard can, accidentally get one. It could be Brate. Everybody's talking about Gronk, and Brate comes in. It could be a Ron Jones Jr. situation where, Lenny dings up the ankle. Ron Jones Jr. comes in and gets some work. Darius Slayton for the million. I mean, this is how it goes down. Just build one, move on, build another one, and switch it up. So, looking at the FanDuel sheet, again, so Josh has identified really just the 4 or 5 top plays, but I throw Saquon Barkley in this mix a little bit. Beyond that, Gronk, 10K. Yeah, he's a touchdown scorer. 9,500 Kenny Golladay is pretty cheap. Going to get some of that. Kadarius Toney, 9K. So it looks like the way to attack this game and sort of get a lot of mediocreness as opposed to eliteness in there is really play those Giants wide receivers. The Kenny G's. One of Kenny Golladay or Tony. One of these guys is going to pop off in this game.
Yep.
The Bucs defense is just not good against the pass. Yeah, one of the things we've learned, Crypto, for Christmas is people get hurt in the NFL at a higher rate than our brains generally allow us to think, right? I mean, Bobby, how many times have we talked about this all year? Like, oh, you're stupid. You're playing for a running back getting injured. What are the chances? Well, the chances are about 10%.
I mean, it's been higher this year, but I legitimately feel like every other showdown slate, a big name's getting hurt. Every showdown slate, not necessarily a running back, everyone, but feels like every other showdown, there's one big name that goes out of the game and it turns the whole slate on its head.
This year alone, we've had 2 backup quarterback nuts, 500K winner situations.
Yep.
It's happened twice already this year. Like, that shit keeps happening. It's crazy. So, and so it's not that out. Like, what are the chances that Lenny Fournette gets hurt and Ron Jones comes in? I don't know, like 10%. It's a real chance. It's like a better chance than a lot of other things happening. Like, It's real.
Yep.
Yeah, turd zone here is pretty gross. Jalen Darden ran 4 routes, 2 of them for targets. Colin Johnson, decent amount of snaps, but now the return of Galladay, I think will sit him down. I mean, Cyril Grayson for 1 target. These are pretty thin turds, but I think in the end of the day, I actually think it might come from one of the Tampa tight ends, where it might be the OJ Howard. You got to play that OJ. You got to have a little Cameron Brate. Got to have a little OJ Howard. The tight end turd is the most likely touchdown scoring turd.
It has been time and time again this year. Last night too, Eric Ebron, right?
Yeah. Ebron for the touchdown. The tight end turd is the most likely turd to score a touchdown. And he's the cheapest. So he's the cheapest with the real touchdown upside, because what ends up happening is if you play Cyril Grayson or some fucking wide receiver shit and he didn't score a touchdown, but he got 2 targets and got 2 receptions, that didn't do anything. He's not in the nuts, but it only takes 1 touchdown from a 5 or 6K tight end to likely thrust himself into the nuts. So that's the way to go. Any final thoughts here? Who's your favorite turd on the slate, Bobbywow?
I'm definitely going to have, especially on DraftKings, I'm going to have some exposure to Giovanni Bernard. I also think if Scotty Miller's active, he's a guy that I'm going to be well overweight on. I'll probably try and be 15%-ish on Scotty Miller at min price. So
yeah,
those 2 guys are probably my favorites.
Love Scotty Miller at 200. Not to say, by the way, somebody, I don't need your DM after when Scotty Miller gets a 0. I'm fine. I watch the game. You don't have to DM that to me. But nice 0 for Scotty Miller. But it's like, thanks for sharing. Like I watched the game too. But what's good about Scotty Miller is for 200. That's the kind of turd. Again, your lineup's going to look different from anybody who didn't play the cheapest guy, and I like that. And all he needs is 3 receptions for 30 yards, and that's already the nuts for Scotty. And of course, something else pops off, amazing. But when you play a $200 player, you're not playing for you don't need to beat the kicker. Kicker got 10.
Yeah. And I mean, last night until the very end, when the Steelers decided to play football, that McKitty guy, that 3rd string tight end with 1 catch and 3 yards, was the nuts at min price. So yeah, you don't need all that much, especially on a slate like this when the other 5 guys could be really expensive high scorers.
I'm going to say getting injured. I don't think he's much of a fumbler. And Willie McGuire to throw water on the fire is saying Miller is doubtful for tonight. So we'll see. If he doesn't play, obviously, there's nothing to talk about there. And unfortunately, that leaves us these other Tampa turds, the Graysons and, who was that other guy here? But the Graysons and Jalen Dardens of the world become like WR4 viable.
If Miller's out, I'm committing to Tyler Johnson, even at that price.
What about his DraftKings? What about his FanDuel price? See, that I like. All right, you know what? We just made a fucking lineup, and now I realize Tyler Johnson. So let me do this again here. If you can get Tyler Johnson, who's a real player, you can get Tyler Johnson at 7K, and he's going to be out there catching actual 7,500, getting actual targets. No.
You upgrade Ingram from Rudolph. I don't hate that at all.
I mean, it's a little better, but I downgraded from, Barkley. I don't love it either. I think in the end of the day, the way to work this one out is I really wanted Barkley and Lenny. You can do it, but you could play Barkley and Lenny. Let's have a feeling about Saquon. And then you can... No, it doesn't even work. The math doesn't work, guys. It doesn't work like this. Gronk in there. Now you have 3K to upgrade somewhere else. So here's where you go from Barkley to Daniel Jones or Lenny to Daniel. There's different ways to approach this, but yeah. Could you show your preferred lineup on DraftKings? So we did a lineup build on DraftKings, but in the end of the day, this is not about handing out a lineup or it's more about, hey, showing you some different ways the players can combine, and we do these impromptu. But what's a preferred lineup? If you're entering a tournament, whatever my preferred lineup is, it's not winning that tournament. It's probably decent for a cash game or maybe like a really, really small league, but you're not winning. You shouldn't really put what looks like a preferred lineup into a tournament anyway. In a tournament, you need to make something, you know what I mean? I don't even. Yeah. Oh, relying on an injury to win DFS is a dick move. Oh, dick move or not? I mean, like, dude, I think, by the way, I think that you need to do things to try to win DFS. That Bobby, you have the theory. The theory goes like this. Listen, we're not betting on what we think will happen. To win a tournament, you're placing a bet essentially on what could possibly happen, not what you think will happen, what could happen. So, I mean, yeah, dick move, because man, it sucks when Tua comes in for the other guy and leads somebody and somebody wins a solo tournament. Sucks for everybody who didn't win a certain, but I respect that. I'm like, dude, this guy fucking did it, man. He put in the backup quarterback. Somebody put in Josh Johnson or the fucking third stringer for the Giants and won a take tournament. That's $500,000.
I kind of view it as like an emergency kit, right? You don't hope an emergency happens, but you have to plan for it. In your car, you got to have blankets and whatever for like if you get stuck in the snow. Same thing for DFS. No one's rooting for anyone to get hurt, but you're preparing for a disaster situation where you can get some leverage. Definitely not something that anyone's actively rooting for, but again, I think that's the way I view it.
It's like prepping in your house. Hey, there's a pandemic on the way. You bought some tuna cans.
Yeah, I'm not seeing Scotty Miller being inactive. The IR tag's still on there, but he's not inactive yet, and he's questionable. So we'll have to wait until the inactive sheet comes out to figure out if he's playing or not. I think they actually have to activate him by tomorrow. If he's going to play again this season, I want to say.
I think Miller coming off a massively long-term injury. If you don't have absolute information that he's been practicing for the last 2 weeks.
He has.
Yeah, he has been practicing with the team?
Yep.
All right. Yep. So, yeah, all right. So then let's see. Usually by 3 o'clock, they got to take him off IR. It's 4 o'clock now. So we'll do a little bit of research after this, and we'll, of course, figure it out before, really getting into the final showdown stuff. But, yeah, overall, I think we've got a pretty good breakdown of the slate. I think you've got some nice bargain pieces here on FanDuel that are priced really well on the Giants side. So you can really get a lot of these Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney, even Graham Gano types, and make a pretty nice lineup with some sort of pairing of them. It just works. You can get a lot of these Giants wide receivers. You might be able to essentially replicate Danny Dimes by just getting all of his pass catchers, kind of, but not really. How averse are you, Bobbywow, to making a lineup without Tom Brady in it?
It's how you win all the monies. So it's hard to do that tonight. It's really hard, but those are the stands you have to take, especially on FanDuel if you want to be unique. So if you don't have to full fade him to get leverage there. He'll probably be 80% owned, right? So even if you go 40% or 50% Tom Brady, you're giving yourself more chances.
I'm just trying to see what a lineup looks like without Tom. And it also doesn't mean that Tom has to have a bad game. It could just mean that Fournette gets a couple touchdowns and Tom only throws for 2 and it wasn't enough. He gets 18, but that's not enough to be in the nuts. That could totally happen.
Just so hard on FanDuel, man. It's so much harder for him to not be in the nuts.
I know. But he's probably got like a 75% chance of being in the nuts.
Yeah, maybe even higher.
So, something like this. I mean, there are versions where you spend all the salary and, hey, I got a bunch of studs in my lineup together, 2 Tampa studs, a couple of players, and, didn't hit. So just be creative with your lineups tonight. There are a lot of people who can score on both teams, and let's see what happens, man. Any last thoughts, Bobbywow?
No, just pay attention in the Discord as we get closer to inactives. We'll update you on all the guys that are questionable, but I think it's going to be a really fun slate. So let's get the helmets on top.
There we go. Helmets up, baby. Good luck tonight, everybody. Remember, get signed up. DFS Army's VIP promo code Geek. Thursday slate. Got Thanksgiving coming up. Basketball every night. 100K winners. It's like giving out 100K like hotcakes over on DraftKings. Everybody gets 100K. It's like an episode of Oprah. You get 100K. You get 100K. Let's do this. I want my 100K. Where's my 100K? Oprah. All right. Good luck tonight, everybody.